Rumors had always been part of the lifeblood of Los Angeles. The city breathed them in and exhaled them with every shift of power, every whispered secret, every scandal that threatened to break the surface. But the rumor that began circulating about Luna toward the end of 2025 did not feel like idle speculation or industry hype. It felt heavier, colder, like a storm cloud forming far out at sea, still distant but unmistakably moving closer. People whispered that the year might close not with glamour and celebration, but with a mystery, one that centered on Luna's disappearance, her possible death, or the more chilling possibility that she had been trapped in a carefully woven scheme by an enemy she never saw coming. The rumor spread like wildfire across social circles and corporate boardrooms, across dressing rooms and coffee shops, built on half-truths and quiet suspicions, fueling anxiety for those closest to her and morbid fascination for those who watched her rise from afar. Luna had always carried an aura of fragility wrapped around an unexpected core of strength. She entered Forrester creations like a gust of wind, soft, gentle, but undeniably disruptive. Her creativity, her innocence, and her warmth made her the kind of woman who inspired loyalty, envy, affection, and resentment in equal measure. But beneath the surface of her charm lay a complex emotional landscape shaped by doubts about her identity, the pressures of belonging to a powerful family, and the scars left behind by past mistakes. By the time 2025 unfolded, Luna had become both loved and hated, admired and targeted, protected and vulnerable. And vulnerability, especially in a world driven by ambition and secrets, was a dangerous thing to possess. As the year progressed, Luna seemed to sense a shift in the energy around her. She felt watched even when alone, felt tension in the smiles of people who once supported her, felt the weight of her mother's past pressing closer as old scandals resurfaced. Some nights she lay awake staring at the ceiling, unable to shake the feeling that something, or someone, was moving quietly in the darkness of her life, waiting for the right moment to strike. She told herself she was imagining things, the way people under stress often do, but the sense of dread seeped into her daily routine like ink bleeding into paper. She grew cautious with her words, wary of the people she trusted, alert to every shift in tone or glance in the office. And yet, she hid all of this behind a gentle smile, hoping no one would guess how deeply unsettled she had become. The tension around her only worsened when small incidents began to unfold, incidents so subtle that each one alone seemed insignificant, but together formed a pattern impossible to ignore. Files related to Luna's projects disappeared from shared drives. A dress she designed was mysteriously switched before a runway event. Negative rumors about her professionalism crept into online forums. Someone anonymously requested HR review her conduct. She found her car scratched one morning, though no cameras recorded the event. Each situation was ambiguous enough that people wondered if Luna was simply overwhelmed, unlucky, or imagining conspiracies where none existed. But Luna, who trusted her intuition more than she trusted circumstances, knew something was very wrong. She felt like a chess piece being moved slowly across a board she could not see. The strongest rumors pointed to one chilling possibility: someone wanted Luna gone. Whether gone professionally, socially, or physically was unclear, but the sense of threat was unmistakable. Some believed she had accidentally uncovered a secret she should not have known, something capable of bringing down a powerful name in the fashion world. Others believed her rise had created jealousy so potent that someone intended to destroy her, brick by brick, reputation first and life second. And there were those who whispered that Luna herself carried secrets damaging enough to make her a target of revenge by people from her past. Whatever the truth, the cloud around her thickened until it felt like her life was moving along a perilous edge, one misstep away from disaster. The rumor that the bold and the beautiful might end 2025 with Luna's life hanging in the balance began when she vanished for a full day without explanation. She missed a scheduled meeting, did not answer calls, and did not show up at home. At first, her absence was dismissed as exhaustion or miscommunication. But when hours passed with no word, concern turned into fear. RJ, who loved her more deeply than he had ever dared to express publicly, felt a cold panic gripping his chest. He retraced her steps, contacted her friends, searched the places she often visited for comfort, but Luna was nowhere. Something deep in him screamed that this was not a simple disappearance, that Luna had been taken or coerced or trapped in a situation too dangerous to escape alone. Reporters caught wind of the story within hours, and speculation exploded. Some media outlets claimed Luna had run away under pressure from family scandals. Others claimed she had been having a secret affair and fled to avoid exposure. The darkest corners of the internet whispered that Luna had been killed, that her body had been hidden, that someone at Forrester knew more than they were saying. Each rumor spread faster than the last, feeding fear and fascination in equal measure. Everyone had a theory. No one had the truth. When Luna finally reappeared the next morning, exhausted, shaken, and unable to articulate what had happened, the mystery only deepened. She claimed she had no memory of where she had been, only fragments, tree branches above her, the sensation of cold air on her skin, the metallic scent of fear clinging to her clothes. She insisted she had been lured, not voluntarily, but through manipulation or threat. The police opened an investigation, but the lack of evidence and Luna's fragmented memories made progress impossible. And though she had returned physically unharmed, her mind carried the trauma of something she could not fully name. Her fear became part of the rumor itself, fueling speculation that the incident was only the beginning. In the weeks that followed, tension built throughout Forrester Creations. Luna tried to resume her life, but found that every shadow made her flinch, every unfamiliar face made her heart race. She sensed that whoever had targeted her was not finished. Sometimes she found her belongings moved. Sometimes she smelled unfamiliar perfume on her clothing. Sometimes she caught a reflection in a window that vanished too quickly to identify. She confided in RJ, who became fiercely protective, but even he could not shield her from an enemy skilled enough to strike from the dark. Then came the most chilling rumor of all. Someone intended to frame Luna for a crime she did not commit. Her fingerprints were found on equipment she had never touched. Emails appeared in her account that she did not send. An accusation was made that she had sabotaged a high-profile gown. Everything pointed towards someone crafting a narrative designed to destroy her life from the inside out. Luna realized with horror that she was not simply a target. She was being sculpted into a villain in someone else's story. Someone wanted her to fall not as a victim, but as the accused. As Christmas approached, the rumors crescendoed into one terrifying prediction. The final episode of 2025 would end with a cliffhanger involving Luna's life. Some said she would be found unconscious, another claimed she would be missing again, still others speculated she would be accused of murder herself. But the most persistent rumor was the darkest, that Luna would be found at the bottom of a ravine, her fate unknown, her survival left hanging in the balance to push the show into 2026 with explosive momentum. One chilly December night, RJ found her gone again. Her car was parked at the edge of a cliff road, the driver's door open, her phone on the seat. Panic consumed him. The police were called. Search teams assembled. Flashlights swept through the canyon. But there was no sign of Luna, not at the cliff's edge, not on the trail, not in the trees. Only the wind carried her name, echoing with a sense of dread so powerful it felt like a warning. The screen faded to black, and the final words appeared. Is Luna alive, or has someone finally succeeded? The rumor became truth, or perhaps truth became rumor. Fans debated whether Luna had been killed by an unseen enemy, or whether she had been framed and forced to flee. Some believed she had been kidnapped again. Others believed she had staged the disappearance to expose her attacker. But the haunting mystery lingered in every mind. Someone wanted Luna gone, and someone had nearly succeeded. Whether she survived would become the heartbeat of 2026. But one thing was certain. Luna, whether victim or fighter, had become the center of a storm too powerful to ignore. And the shadows surrounding her were only growing darker, more intricate, more dangerous. Her life, her identity, and her future were no longer hers alone. They were pieces in a game designed by an adversary far more calculating than anyone had imagined. The real question was not simply whether Luna lived or died. The real question was, who wanted Luna destroyed, and why? No one in Los Angeles expected to see Luna ever again. Her disappearance had been dragged across tabloids, whispered about in corporate hallways, dissected in private living rooms, and mourned in ways that felt both intimate and public. Forrester Creations treated her absence like an open wound, one that still bled beneath the glamour and polished surfaces, while the Spencer family splintered under the weight of guilt, suspicion, and bitter speculation. By the end of that tragic chapter, most believed Luna had become another unsolved mystery in a city filled with them. Some said she had run away. Others insisted she had died. A few murmured she had simply broken under the pressure and chosen to disappear. Then she returned. Her reappearance struck the city like a shockwave, so sudden and so impossible that reality itself seemed to shudder. Luna walked into the world again not as the fragile young woman people remembered, but as someone transformed by survival, carrying the quiet gravity of a person who had escaped the dark only to step straight into another storm. Her skin was paler, her eyes deeper, her movements slower as though she were reacclimating to the rhythm of life. But the detail that unhinged the public, the detail that shook both the Forrester and Spencer empires to their core, was unmistakable. Luna was pregnant. And though she refused at first to answer questions, the sharp-eyed observers in the press and the families themselves connected the dots faster than she could open her mouth. The father could only be Will Spencer. The news hit both families with the force of an explosion. In the Forrester household, silence fell like shattered glass. RJ felt something inside him break, not because of betrayal but because of the cruel, spiraling truth that Luna had endured something unimaginable, and he had not been there to protect her. Steffi froze at the implications, knowing that the fragile peace between the Forresters and the Spencers had just been detonated. Ridge felt anger coil inside him like a spring, uncertain whether to direct it toward Will, toward Bill, or toward the unseen forces that drove Luna to vanish in the first place. The Spencer home fared no better. Bill, always a man of control and decisive action, felt the foundation beneath him buckle. Will, the young man still haunted by the trauma of his previous entanglement with Luna, looked at the headline with a mixture of shock and a pain so raw it seemed to age him instantly. Katie's heart cracked for her son, fearing what this revelation would reopen. Memories he'd tried desperately to bury, fears he still lived with, wounds that had never fully healed. The idea that Luna had re-entered his life not just alive, but carrying his child felt like a cruel twist of fate, as though destiny were returning to challenge him again before he'd even found his footing. But Luna's return was not simply about the pregnancy. It became clear quickly that she carried more than a child. She carried secrets. The type that simmer under the surface and reshape everything they touch. She walked with careful steps, her hands often resting protectively on her stomach, her posture revealing both vulnerability and a strangely fierce determination. She did not speak of where she had been or how she had survived. She did not explain the gaps in her memory or the bruises fading along her wrists. She did not say who had taken her, who had hidden her, or who had tried to destroy her life. But she knew one truth with terrifying certainty. Someone wanted her gone, and they had failed. Her return shifted the balance of power in ways no one could have anticipated. Forrester executives whispered behind closed doors, calculating how her reemergence would affect ongoing legal matters, public relations strategies, and the emotional well-being of RJ, now thrust back into heartbreak with no warning. Spencer Publications attempted to control the narrative, but even they could not suppress speculation about Will's involvement or the implications of Luna carrying a Spencer heir. The story spiraled beyond corporate boundaries into something personal, painful, and dangerously unpredictable. RJ, drawn to Luna with unresolved ache, felt conflicted between empathy and devastation. Her return confirmed she had lived through horrors he could not comprehend, yet the sight of her pregnant, possibly with another man's child, fractured something deep within him. He wanted to comfort her, protect her, hold her, but every instinct collided with the memory of their love and the reality she now carried in her body. The world watched him closely, waiting to see whether he would support her or distance himself. No one understood that RJ's silence came not from rejection, but from grief. Will, in contrast, spiraled into an emotional storm that threatened everything he had worked to rebuild. Luna's pregnancy forced him to revisit a past he had barely survived. The thought that he might have fathered a child under circumstances marred by trauma made him tremble with fear, guilt, and responsibility. He wanted to deny it, out of self-preservation, out of terror, but the truth tightened around him like a rope. If the child was his, that meant Luna's disappearance, her suffering, and her silence were connected to something much darker than anyone had admitted. It also meant he had to confront pieces of himself he still could not look at without flinching. For Bill, the situation represented more than scandal. It represented a potential unraveling of his family's public image, his son's mental stability, and the alliances that kept his world functioning. He saw Luna not as an enemy, but as a catalyst, someone whose presence unmasked weaknesses within his empire. He also sensed that she was still in danger, perhaps more now than ever. Bill knew how to read people, and he recognized in Luna the posture of someone being hunted. He was determined to uncover who had targeted her, but he was equally determined to protect Will, even if that meant confronting forces beyond his control. Meanwhile, Luna herself lived in a strange limbo, celebrated for surviving, scrutinized for her secrets, doubted by some, defended by others. She felt the weight of every gaze, every question, every whispered judgment. She also felt the life growing inside her, anchoring her to the world in a way nothing else could. Whether the child was born from violence, love, or something in between, she saw it as her reason to keep fighting. She knew her return would ignite chaos, but she also knew she could no longer hide. Someone had taken her. Someone had threatened her unborn child. Someone had tried to write her final chapter. She refused to let them finish the story. The more Luna re-entered daily life, the more cracks appeared in the narrative surrounding her disappearance. She suffered from fragmented memories that surfaced unpredictably, voices shouting, hands restraining her, headlights burning into her vision, the scent of gasoline, cold metal against her skin. She remembered being moved from place to place, hearing arguments about keeping her quiet, and one chilling sentence spoken by an unfamiliar woman. If she tells the truth, everything collapses. Luna did not yet know what that truth was, but she carried the terror of that phrase everywhere she went. The Forrester and Spencer families soon realized that Luna's return was not a miracle, it was a warning. Her survival meant someone's plans had failed, and that failure would provoke retaliation. Suspicions spread like wildfire. Was Luna being framed? Protected? Manipulated? Was her pregnancy the motive for the attack, or the result of it? Could the father truly be Will, or had someone tampered with her life in ways even she could not understand? Each theory carried consequences heavy enough to reshape both families. As winter approached, the tension between the Forresters and Spencers grew unbearable. RJ wanted answers. Will wanted absolution. Bill wanted control. Katie wanted safety. Steffi wanted peace for a family constantly at war. But Luna wanted something deeper, justice. Someone had stolen months of her life. Someone had endangered her child. Someone had twisted her story into a weapon. And as memories began to sharpen, she felt closer to the truth than ever before. The most shocking revelation arrived one night when Luna recognized a scent while walking through Forrester Creations, a perfume she had smelled in captivity. It triggered something primal inside her, and the panic that surged through her body confirmed her fear. Her enemy had been close all along. Someone within the walls of this glamorous, powerful world had orchestrated her disappearance and wanted her erased. Her heart pounded. Her breath caught. Her hand instinctively rested on her stomach. She was not safe. Not yet. The Forrester and Spencer clans believed the chaos was merely emotional fallout. They did not realize Luna's return had reignited a dormant danger. She carried a child, yes, perhaps Will's, perhaps a symbol of her survival, but she also carried knowledge that threatened someone powerful. Her survival was not just a miracle. It was an act of defiance. And her presence meant the story was far from over. The city that once mourned her now held its breath, waiting for the next twist, a twist Luna herself could feel approaching like distant thunder. The truth behind her disappearance, the identity of her captor, the fate of her unborn child, and the fragile alliances between two powerful families, all of it spiraled toward a climax that promised devastation, revelation, and transformation. Luna was no longer the girl who vanished. She was the woman who survived. And someone, somewhere, feared deeply what she might remember next.